Hello and welcome to my channel. It's the first episode and the first video here. It will be about Cleveland. I'm not a Cleveland native. Actually, I've moved from Germany in 2020, which was right before the pandemic started, the COVID pandemic. I flew over in January. It was still winter, it was very cold, and I've not even visited Cleveland before I made this move. So this channel is a little bit about my life journey, how I ended up in Cleveland. And the reason I'm doing this is because when I decided to move to Cleveland, everybody basically told me it's a mistake on the lake. It's not a good place to live. It has a lot of crime, and it's really one of the worst choices that you can even make when you move to the US. There are much better cities to pick. And it kind of frustrated me because even though I haven't even visited Cleveland to that point, the research I did indicated that actually it's a pretty nice town to live. It had a very rough history and past, but by today's standards, it seems to be a pretty nice community and a great place to live. So when I eventually moved here, and after 2.5 years now living in Cleveland and the surrounding areas, I can attest that Cleveland is indeed a great place. So the reason why I'm doing this is to give some love back to Cleveland and just spread the message that this is actually an underrated city, and in my opinion it's a hidden gem. So how did I even get here in the first place? Basically, my wife and I, we both shared the desire to work and live in the USA, and I was regularly traveling to the United States, visiting different places all across the country, and my wife and I went on vacation a couple of times. We also did a lot of road trips. We typically didn't focus on fancy hotels, but more on living the real lives in these cities. We did a lot of Airbnb-ing, sometimes couch surfing, and we really felt like we have a good understanding of what we can expect from making this move, and we both agreed that it's the right step for us. So I did a lot of networking, also shared my aspirations with the US colleagues, and fortunately my former boss also supported to make such a move, and it just was a matter of time when somebody texted me from the United States and told me that there is a role available in the Midwest and I could potentially be a fit for that. And that's how it all started. I had my interviews. I had to apply for a work visa, which is a lot easier if you have a big company behind you, because they can do intra-company transfers, so-called L1 visa types, and that's a much easier way to get you transferred to the United States. How did we end up in Cleveland? I mentioned that this role is based in the Midwest. So I'm in a sales role. I have customers along Lake Erie, southern, northern Ohio, as well as New York State and a little bit Pennsylvania. I could pick and choose any kind of spot on the map in that area. We also have offices in Detroit and Chicago, which could have also been options. Based on my former job, I already traveled to Chicago a couple of times, and it's an amazing city. I really think it's beautiful, especially in the summer, but I also think it's more a place to visit. I like it as a tourist, but it didn't give me the right vibes to say I really want to live there as a resident. I don't want to deal with the traffic every day. I feel it's the worst traffic in the whole country, because you have two levels basically. There's an underground level and then there's a road level, and GPS doesn't work half the time, and for me it looked like a nightmare, and it was also the furthest point away from my customers, so it was ruled out pretty quickly. The other option would have been Detroit. I've never been there at this point of time. I kind of looked around and we felt like it's not as neatly connected to other cities as Cleveland is. When we did a little bit of research, just the whole area and everything didn't give us the good vibe that Cleveland did. What really made Cleveland special was actually the fact that when you looked into Google Maps, all the interesting hotspots for Cleveland are not further away than 15 to 30 minutes drive. For example, the Cuyahoga Valley National Park, or the beaches, or places like Rocky River, Lakewood, Mentor. There are just a lot of good things, very, very easy to reach. And then also if you plan longer trips, like weekend trips, you had Niagara Falls, which is a beautiful destination. You had Rochester, the Five Finger Lake region to the east. You could even drive to New York City within a day, or other cities along the East Coast, and the same then towards the west, like Detroit, Chicago. Everything is not far away, reachable by car. And to the south you have some cool cities like Columbus and Cincinnati. So that's what we really liked about Cleveland, and that's why we picked Cleveland actually. Now the next question was, where in Cleveland do we want to end up? So this was much more difficult, because if you've never visited a city, you can watch some YouTube videos, you can Google it, but you still don't get a good feeling of where you really want to live. I use Google Maps, and I mentioned I watched videos before, looked at crime rates, and then I got a little bit of a feeling like there is Cleveland downtown, there is Lakewood, there is Rocky River, like Shaker Heights, the University Circle, all places that seem to be pretty livable. You can't go wrong with any of those. But that was pretty much it. So at this point we said, well, all we can do now is look into this area, because we didn't want to move any further out before we have really understood how Cleveland really works. So we wanted to focus on the core area of Cleveland. I looked up rental places. Like, there are a couple of apartment towers in Cleveland downtown that have a pretty good website. You can text them. So all that stuff I did from Germany. So I had a list of around 5 to 8 places that we wanted to check out once we are in Cleveland. So what we did then was we booked a hotel. It was the Hilton, right on the lakefront, with a beautiful view on the Brown Stadium. For us it was already breathtaking, because in Germany you typically don't get views like that. Now, I had this list with places that we wanted to check out. So that's exactly what we did after our breakfast in the morning. We got out in the cold and walked down to the flats, where we had the first apartment that we wanted to check out. And wasn't that great. It was already pretty dated, and at the same time also very expensive. And just by walking to the flats, we already noticed how the area changed between downtown and the flats. And I mean, the flats are still technically in downtown, but there is a small strip of a couple of blocks which is just a little less nice than the other part of downtown, than the remaining part of downtown. And we really felt like, well, living in the flats might be fun in the summer, but in the winter you're kind of disconnected. And I mean, we saw it firsthand that it was like a ghost town, like there was nothing going on. So we ruled out the flats. We walked back into downtown, the Tower City Residences, which is the beautiful terminal tower with views on Public Square. Really a fantastic building. Unfortunately, to my opinion, it's not really designed to be an apartment complex. So you had long walkways from the elevator to your room and then to the garage. It just wasn't designed that way, and that's what we didn't really like about it. But the pricing was pretty good, so it was our kind of potential plan B. While we walked from the Tower City to Iconic 9, it's actually, I think it's less than a mile of a walk, but it got so cold that halfway we looked around for other places that we could check out, and there was this newly built apartment tower called the Beacon, and I knew by doing some research actually the rents were not in our budget, so we didn't even wanted to check that out. But because it was so cold, we said, come on, let's go in there, see if they give us a tour on short notice, and let's see what happens. And guess what? It's the place where we ended up, because they had a great promo ongoing to get the building filled up. So we got two rents for free, and if you do an annual lease and get 2 months for free, it's like a 20% discount, or very close to 20% discount, and that overall brought us right in the budget where we wanted to be, and we ended up with a beautiful 2-bedroom apartment, views on the lake, and it was our dream apartment. So our arrival in Cleveland was just fantastic, and even though it was still very cold, sometimes when the sun came out, you already got a glimpse of how beautiful Cleveland and Lake Erie can be when spring and summer are starting. So that's how we ended up in Cleveland. Of course, we toured a ton of other places. We checked out Lakewood, we checked out places in Detroit Shoreway and Rocky River, but for us, we really had the feeling that the first year we want to live right in the center of it. We want to be in downtown and be able to drive around to all the other neighborhoods and figure out where we eventually want to settle down in a next step, maybe a year or two from there. Yeah, and with hindsight, I think it was really the right choice, and I would recommend it to everybody else. It doesn't need to be the Beacon. There are a lot of other cool apartments. I think the Standard, for example, is a lot less pricey. Was a very clean apartment complex, nice amenities. I mean, there are tons of options right in downtown, so you can easily rent there for a year or two, depending on your needs. I think we stayed a total of 14 months. That gave us enough time to really understand where we wanted to end up. Our priority was to be very close to the lake, ideally to a beach, and that kind of puts you in the area of the west side of Cleveland, like Lakewood, Rocky River, Bay Village, or it puts you to the east side of Cleveland, but then you're a little further out. You definitely have to cross the area, which is, in my opinion, really the only mistake on the lake, the lakefront airport, and it's a couple of miles where there is no residential and commercial space, with the exception of the airport. And then you start to hit the first neighborhood, which is Brandnal. Beautiful, but not so easy in terms of house or apartment rentals. But there are a couple of communities east from Cleveland then that also have beach access, but they are a little further out, and also the areas get a little sketchier. East of Brandnal can be really a big mix of very upscale areas and then also some very poor areas. And for us, we didn't know those neighborhoods well enough to feel okay to pick a house over there. We found a wonderful house in Bay Village, and we bought it. It was basically, the mortgage is basically the same price than we paid for our monthly rent. So it was not a difficult decision. It was more about a lifestyle decision, house versus apartment in downtown. And for us it was the right choice. And thanks to the opportunity to live in Cleveland for a little over a year, we really felt like we had a good understanding of the market and of the neighborhoods, and so far we have no regrets. We live in our house now for 1.5 years, and it was exactly the neighborhood where we feel comfortable, and we love it every day. So I think our approach was a good one. What I want to cover in the upcoming videos is really what Cleveland has to offer. I will state and show some of the obvious ones like the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but I will also dig into the things that we experienced over the last few years that are less known even to Clevelanders or people who lived in Northern Ohio for a while. So hopefully there's a little bit of something for everybody who is following this channel. And I would also love to get some questions from you guys. If you have any interesting ideas or just questions about how life in Cleveland is, or any tips for relocating or whatsoever, please text me or post it in the comments. So hopefully it's going to be a fun channel. I look forward to it. And obviously I would be very thankful about any feedback. And if you like everything that you've seen, then please subscribe and like and share my videos. That's the best way to help me and keep me motivated to continue with these videos. So that's it. I wish you a wonderful day, and in Germany we would say Auf Wiedersehen. So see you soon.